Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey My Mother's Son podcast. Today I'm joined with fitness trainer and life coach John Kimble. John, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, I appreciate you for having me.
Absolutely. Looking forward to the conversation. Before we get started, just introduce yourself to the audience, in your own words. Who is John today?
Yeah, John today is just a person who's overcome, massive amounts of adversity. He just feels obligated at the fact that he has to give back to everyone else all the pain that he's caused and that he was caused all his life. It just feels obligated that the fact that I have to give everything in which worked for me. So that's what I do now. All John is just a vessel from above who shares what works for him.
I love it. I love it. So, your story is really a story of redemption, and a comeback story. So, Um, I mentioned in the opening you're now a life coach and a fitness trainer, but prior to that, there's a whole lot that was, that's there to unpack to talk about how you got where you were today. So, tell me a little bit about your journey getting to, where you are today and why it is such a story of redemption.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it was a story of struggle, just like everyone struggle is their prerequisite to their successes. I mean, I went down the path of stuff like addiction and a life of crime because I was just influenced by the wrong people. And ultimately, that changed my habits and changed my mindset. And that's all that's needed to actually change an individual's life is just when you change their habits and their mindset. So, whenever that changed my life. And I started going down the path, like I said, of a life of crime. I got arrested for a couple felonies, misdemeanors. I was luckily got off, but that led to a deep down path of addiction and depression. And then I tried to take my life twice, got admitted in a psych unit and all that good stuff. But the thing was that I learned mainly throughout all of it was like a personal development process, how having that actually helps in a real system that realigns you with everything. Because, like I always say, in the psych ward, they gave me these therapists and pills and all this stuff to actually go to. But I was very, of course, juvenile at that point, so I didn't take any of their advice. However, over the course of time, when I kept making mistakes, I allowed that to be my mentor. And that's when I really reconstructed myself through like a certain process that I use to this day to realign me with my best self.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what is that process that you use to for that realignment?
So I have like a morning process I do. It's like a early wake up. I get up at 2:40 and then I go to the gym. I'm in the gym by 4 and then I do my morning reflection. It's really on what I regret from the past day. And a lot of people look at adversity as a bad thing, but I look at it as as an opportunity for growth. It really exposes a flaw in our character. So instead of exploiting and magnifying the strengths of myself, I really look deep into the weaknesses, and that's why I use regret in my morning reflection in the morning to really see the weakness in my character and fix that so I'm strong in all areas in life. But that's pretty much what it is. It's just looking at the past mistakes and really thinking about that person that I don't want to bring to my people and then changing that through actions and getting in a higher frequency, which is pushing past all the negative things that you were plagued with from that mindset that you were at. And I do it through getting like my heart rate up through burpees or something. And something like that really gets the blood oxidation level moving. And then you start to, all the emotion starts to kick in. And then you really start moving. And then your heart rate gets elevated. And it just pushes you at a way higher frequency, like I said. And it makes you push past all the negative shit that you were plagued with once before. That and giving onto others everything you wish to receive and to yourself. So, like, go and help somebody else out when you're dealing with the problem. So, if you're lonely, go and help someone else out that's lonely and in return you're getting helped out yourself. But just simple stuff like that that actually realigns me to my best self.
Yeah. I love what you just said about going giving to someone else and you actually end up, giving to yourself. I mean, one of the things that my wife and I do since we've started traveling full time in the RV is we do a lot of volunteer work. And it's funny that whenever we go into a project, it's kind of like you're going in there expecting to give, but you actually find that you're getting as much out of it as what you are to the people that you're giving to. Um, so tell me a little bit about, your philosophy of giving back and wanting to help others. I mean, when did that come about in your life?
Yeah, it really came about when I was going down the path, like I said, of all that negative bullshit. And then I turned my life around. And then everybody started asking me what I was doing because they saw me go down this deep path and I documented everything. So they all saw that. And then they saw me realign myself with all these positive intentions and habits and all this stuff and attitude. And they were like, "Oh, how did I do that?" So they asked me and they came with me with all their problems. And then that was like, I saw that as an opportunity to help them. And then that's when the life coaching and the personal training all started. Like I never even knew you can charge for any of this stuff, but I just did anyway because people came to me with their problems. And I was like, oh, all I want to do is help them. Because like I said, in return, you feel good yourself, you know? And if you're ever feeling down, if you go help someone else that's down, I mean, it's pretty simple. In return, you'll feel up. So that's where it all stemmed from.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So you're also a former boxer. Um, what are some of the things that you learned from boxing that you're carrying over into what you're doing today?
It's a lot because it taught me how to realign myself with my purpose. And even though, like I say, it's simple, it's boxing, right? It doesn't seem like it actually saved someone's life, but it saved my life because when I was deep down, dark in that depression or whatever, I was really addicted to things that deterred me from the path of positivity and growth. But having something that forward projects you towards something greater in the future really realigns you on that path of what you should be doing instead of what you shouldn't, like self-indulging in these instant gratifications, like overeating, over consuming on alcohol and all this shit like that. So when I started not boxing, it actually realigned me with that, and I just got so into it, and I just got so focused on improving my boxing that I didn't even have time to be dwelling on the negative past because I was forward projecting towards something in the future. And everybody should do that. And everybody, it doesn't have to be boxing, but it should be like personal development because the personal development journey is a never ending journey. There's always stuff we got to work on. So if you continue to do that, then if you continue to, like I said, like dial in your macros, really train hard, and just focus on even that simple like that, then you'll push past, you'll get so much clarity in return. It'll like the amount will just be abundant and you'll push past all the negative vices, temptations, the self limiting beliefs, and the self sabotaging thoughts that you had once before.
Yeah. So I love what you said about that, for you it was boxing. It doesn't have to be that for everybody. And I think a lot of times, um, I mean, I coached baseball for 30 years, and one of the things that frustrated me the most was hearing other coaches approach it as though there's this cookie cutter method to do things. And that's not the case. We're all individuals. Um, so we've really got to find what that is to help us get to where we want to be. So in your coaching style, um, how do you address that individualization to help your clients or your students get to finding what boxing did for you?
So that's like really on my elite level program. I teach that all the time. It's specific to the person because, like, let's just say if they're dealing with anxiety or something, I would tell them and teach them the things that help me. And it would be simple tasks throughout the day because you don't want to throw something at someone, especially who's anxious, and then they get overwhelmed or something. So for me, it was like, go talk to like three people at the park, something simple like that. Over time, builds into something greater, and it really develops a character, like a true character at the end of the year, because you've implemented these simple tasks specific to the person. Let's just say if theirs was dealing with laziness, it would be specified to them. Because like you said, it's cookie cutter. That if it's cookie cutter, it might not work for everybody. I mean, some people like very specifically refuse to get up early, and that's main what my program is getting up early and dialing in your macros and tracking nutrition training and all that stuff. But some people like completely refuse to do that, so you have to like, yeah, move it around them, specific to them, and not everyone's the same. So yeah, I just give simple habits and tasks specific to them that they're dealing with, that they're ailed with on a day-to-day basis, like I said, that end up at the end of the year, but it's really just like 1% better.
Yeah, I love it. So the time that you were dealing with addiction and the time that you went into the psych ward, um, from there to where you are today, um, what are some of the toughest lessons you learned throughout that journey to get you to where you are today?
it was causing all the pain to my people. So every time when I think I would be messing up and causing so much pain internally within myself, actually externally, I was provoking so much pain outwardly to everyone else, especially my parents. Like I would see all the emotions on their faces, and I would realize that everything I was doing was actually a deterrence. It was actually hurting them worse than it was me myself. So that was really a big time, and especially in the psych unit or whatever you want to call it, I was dealing with a lot of like isolation and reflection because, like I said, I was very addicted to alcohol at that time. So they put me in an isolated room in there, away from everybody, to really monitor me. So in that time, I reflected a lot because I was alone. And that's when a man reflects the most, when he's alone, when he travels alone. So that's what I did. And then I really got to see down that path that I was going down, all the pain I was causing to everyone else. I thought it was just about me, but that's in every depression person's mindset. It's all about them. It's so selfish, But when they really start realizing that it's just a common ass problem, and really they need to seek what like helping somebody else out, and in return stop worrying about their own problems themselves. But that's
So,
what really helped me. Yeah,
so the giving back has really been a huge part of your recovery process, it sounds
huge.
like.
Yeah, huge. I mean, that's why I'm doing this right now, because every time when I think I want to do something else, I go and do this or help somebody else out in like a different way or in a different form, and it always realigns me because you really see what impact you make in their life when you get that text or call. Like if they're about to pull the trigger or something, and then they call you because they know, they want your advice, and then it's really, I don't know, it's really like eye opening to really see that there's more to life than just, worrying about just you.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife and I do some volunteer work at a facility down in Beaumont, Texas called the Dream Center. And it's a faith-based drug and alcohol rehabilitation center. And a big part of their recovery program is giving back and getting what they call the disciples that are in their program um, into community service and giving back and helping with food drives and stuff like that. And like we've talked about previously in the show here, addiction is a very selfish disease. You're really focused on one thing, yourself. So to get out of that mindset and start thinking of others, um, it's huge in that recovery process. And that's one of the things that draws us to wanting to get down there and volunteer and help with them occasionally is, seeing that big step of getting involved in the community. So how long um, after you got to your sobriety did you decide you wanted to give back through coaching and the fitness training?
Like not long at all, like immediately when I stopped, because I knew how good it felt to actually not be plagued with any of these vices or desires that people are on out here on a day-to-day basis. Like the moment that you feel, it's the moment you feel free, because you're not ran by any of these external solutions for internal problem, because all the solution to our problems exist within ourselves. So if we stop seeking externally for something like that as a vice to solve it, and then really seek deep within and really run into that adversity, what's most hardest for us, then we get the solution in return. And it just feels so freeing at that moment because you're not held down by any of that stuff. And it's like you're really staying busy, because the moment you're idle, the idle mind is the devil's playground, and then ultimately that leads to desires and vices. So then you just pick up different character habits and traits throughout that journey of recovering from addiction or these vices that you use along the path of life. Like every day now I use it, that I've learned back then, to not go back to who I was before. And it just feels so good to strengthen myself. It's like I'm overcoming it every fucking day because I strengthen myself past the past John Kimble, and I get into, like I say, a higher frequency, and I really exist in that frequency where, like I said, I'm pushed past all the negative, like alcohol and pills and weed and all this stuff, and I'm really solely focused on my own purpose.
So does the giving back help you maintain your own sobriety as well?
No, it does, 100%. Because, like I said, it puts me to a greater purpose. It like them, just their problem, and it puts me outside of the bounds and needs of my own. And it really gets me to dive deep into what they're struggling with, knowing that I have the solution. So it really it feels good, and I want them to tell me their problems because I have the solution for it. I mean, that's why I do this fitness and nutrition training, because I mean, yeah, the body's good, but the body's just a byproduct of developing a character over time that's like unstoppable. And that feels way better than any external possession you could ever really get.
Yeah. So the people that are coming to you, are they coming to you for both the life coaching and the fitness training, or some are doing just fitness training, some are doing just life coaching?
Yeah, some are just doing fitness training and then some are just doing the life coaching. It's like two separate programs. Like there's a mid-level program, it's mindset training and nutrition, and then there's a elite level program. That's when it really goes deep into the vices that they're dealing with. If they're really struggling with it, like really addicted to it.
Yeah. And was fitness training something that's been part of your life, your entire life, or is this something that came on after the addiction? Um, what was kind of the timetable there?
No, it was like all throughout my life because I had anger issues when I was like young. I'm young now, but even when I was like even younger, I had anger issues very bad. So I got put into boxing and that helped it. So it's like all throughout my life. All
Gotcha.
throughout my life because and that's the thing, instead of having something negative to run to, I put boxing in my life. Like I said, it's something simple, but it still realigned me and it still kept me on that path of congruency, and it really sought down deep within to not go down, like, not take that dude's head off, because I used to get involved in a lot of gang violence and stuff like that. I used to stomp on people on the ground in fights, the typical thing, I guess. Um and then boxing, when I got put into that, it just helped me out exponentially, and it let me target that aggression to something else besides harming others. Because that caused so much regret within myself, because I know that regret is my guideline. Regret is a guidance into everything that we shouldn't be in life. So now I just look at that, on the past, on what I was, and just take it as, like I say, an opportunity for growth to not ever do that again.
Yeah. Were you involved in other sports throughout your youth and childhood, or was it strictly boxing?
No, I was involved with like basketball a lot. Actually, yeah, basketball, and I was pretty much just basketball and football. But I played basketball like all throughout middle school years. But then it all just came back to boxing. Like I always stayed stuck with boxing. Though. That was like the number one.
And what was it about boxing that made you kind of migrate toward that above the other sports that you're involved in?
'Cause it was like more physical, and it was just more physical than basketball or football, and I got to like I hate to say, but I got to like hurt people, but I don't like to hurt people anymore. Like that's just stupid. People that's really like seen violence and been through some shit like that, they don't even want to get involved in any of that fighting. But back then, yeah, I wanted to do that. I wanted to fight. That's all I wanted to do. So that's why boxing was always such a like number one thing for me.
Yeah. And you are or are not boxing yet today?
No, I used to box competitively, but now I just go and spar and stuff because it's like a like I fear sometimes sparring, and I get really nervous sometimes. So I actually use that as an opportunity. Like I do it on purpose. I self-inflict that adversity so I can just overcome it, and I feel way better overcoming it because it's self-inflicted. And I don't know, it's just something that's hardest for me. So when I overcome what's hardest for me, like let's just say sparring, I just feel 10 times better afterwards because I'm not running away from the problem, because it just gets easier and easier every single time I do it, because I'm actually running into it instead of running away from it.
Right.
People think that running away from it through all this, like I say, instant gratification advices is the way to go, but it's really not. Every time when I keep doing it repetitively over and over again, I build like a new pathway in my mind that teaches me to overcome it even better the next time.
Yeah. So what are some of your future goals right now as a, life coach and fitness trainer?
Is to just reach as many people possible. I don't Like, I wouldn't have a whole lot of goals set out like a lot of people do. I just have like maybe like one, two, three. It might be getting another mentor or something like that. But it's just reaching more people. I just get up every day and give all I can to everyone else, like to the point of just exhaustion, where I just pass out, and that's all I do, because that's all I feel obligated to do. Like I don't feel like any obligated to do anything else in this life, but strictly follow down my purpose. Like I don't even think I do anything like pleasurable at all throughout my day. Like I try not to, because I don't even call this work though. Like I just call it, like I feel so good doing it and giving back to everyone else. I don't even call it work. Like I just love doing it. So it's probably just like I said, just reaching more people as possible, just pushing the message because that's what saved my life. So I have to give it to everyone else to save theirs.
Yeah. So it really is a passion of yours, they always say the best kind of work is when it doesn't feel like work. So it's
Yeah.
certainly a passion of what you're doing. So, is there anything that we missed throughout the conversation that you think would be important for the listeners?
No, man, I just really want to come on here and talk about that adversity, how it's actually, really an opportunity. And I used it throughout my experiences through life, even at an early age, just and how I've transcended myself even at an early age because I've understood all these laws of the universe and all this so young. And I actually used it as an opportunity to grow instead of running away from it. And that's why I'm so developed because I looked at it in a third person point of view, that adversity and that problem, and I actually took it and grew from it and saw everything and reacted off of thoughts and logic instead of feelings and emotion from the problem. And ultimately, that made me just grow like 10x.
Yeah.
Like I say, I don't believe in age in numbers. I believe in age in wisdom. You know, so I mean, there's plenty of it, and there's plenty of kids my age that are like depressed and anxious now and all this shit, but that label themselves these mental illnesses, I'll say, but it's just neurosis, like pain avoidance. It's the number one thing that causes it. So that's what I've just done differently. It's just really ran into it.
Yeah. Love it. John, how do people get a hold of you if they want to, connect with you for any of your services or, just have a conversation with you? Where can they find you on the internet?
On Instagram, they can find me on Kimble_fit, and on the website is kimblefit.com. So yeah, Kimble_fit on Instagram and kimblefit.com on the website.
Awesome. So, John, that brings us to our final question. As you know, the subtitle of the podcast is Many Little People in Many Little Places, which comes from the opening lyrics of a Michael Franti song, Gloria, which go, when many little people in many little places do many little things and the whole world changes. So it's one of the little things that John does on a daily basis to make the world a little bit better place.
Is he just gets up, he does his morning process, and he gives to everyone else everything that he wants to receive within himself because he knows that how he views the world externally is an internal reflection of him. So if he betters himself and he betters one person at a time, then ultimately that changes the world because it's like a compound effect.
I love that. I love that answer. John, I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. That was a great conversation. I think listeners are going to get a lot out of it. And for those out there listening, be sure to check out my other podcasts and blogs at journeymymotherson.com. While you're there, pick up a copy of one of my books. And again, John, I really appreciate the time. It's a great conversation.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you for having me and let me spread this message, dude.
You bet.